This is The Wrong That Was Right, written by Barrel Coops.
The wrong that was right. The night didn't stop at the skin. It pushed inward, thick and smothering, the way grief settles once the funeral noise has died. London, April 1941. By now the Blitz was background. People slept beneath it the way you sleep under a leaky roof, restless but used to it. A man in a threadbare trench coat moved briskly through Southwark's back streets. The coat had started in the War Office before it ended up on Harold Lennox, a man whose soul had been rubbed thin by secrets. He walked like someone carrying two lives in one coat. Officially he was Liaison Officer, Department 5. In truth, he was an intelligence man who could tell how many teeth a fellow was missing by the way he spoke. Tonight he wasn't following orders. He was doing the wrong thing, and he knew it. It began 3 nights earlier, when the girl burst into a briefing room at Whitehall, streaked with ash and blind panic. A stray, someone muttered, a looter maybe. Harold saw something else. She couldn't have been more than 16, her skin grey with soot, her oversized coat buttoned crooked. Her name, if it was hers, was Elsie. She didn't beg. That was what struck him. She only said, "They're going to take me. I haven't done anything, please." Before she could say more, 2 guards pulled her back into the corridor as if snuffing out a cigarette. It should have ended there, but he couldn't unhear the fear in her voice, raw, unarguable. Later that night he asked around, quiet and careful. She hadn't been looting. She'd been found near a decoy radio transmitter site hit in the last raid. Her father, a Polish engineer, had been detained on suspicion of passing secrets to the Germans. By morning, Elsie was off the books. No trial, no charge, just gone. Now Harold stood before an unmarked door near Borough Market, holding his breath as if about to dive. The building behind it wasn't on any map. He'd helped erase such places himself. A ministry black site dressed as a wine cellar. Elsie was inside. He had no clearance, no order. He wasn't even on duty. If he was caught, there'd be no tribunal, just a quiet room, a bullet, and a file marked accidental gas leak. His hand trembled as he set the pick. The pins clicked, brittle as bones. Inside, the air was stale and sour. A single bulb swung from a frayed wire, throwing jagged shadows that stuck behind his eyelids. He didn't linger. He had maybe 4 minutes before the shift changed, barely enough time to do what he'd come to do. The door at the end of the corridor creaked far too loudly as he pushed it open. She was there. He'd known she would be, but the sight of her hit like relief sharp enough to hurt. Curled in the corner like a discarded doll, lips split from a blow, one shoe missing. Her eyes met his and he almost recoiled, not from her, but from what he found there. Not fear, not gratitude, recognition. "You're that man from the hall," she whispered, voice frayed. "Yes, I've come to get you out." She blinked, slow and unsure, as if deciding whether the hallucination was worth standing up for. "You shouldn't have come." "I know," and he meant it. Every part of him urged him to turn back, to salvage what was left of his career, his safety, his anonymity. But a smaller voice, his mother's maybe, or the ghost of the boy he once was, spoke louder. "You saw her." In the end, that was enough. Not love, not glory, just the fact of having seen someone others preferred not to see. They moved like thieves through the darkened streets. Sirens wailed in the distance. The bombs hadn't started yet. Mercy, of a sort, an hour's grace. She didn't speak much, he didn't ask. Her hand in his, small calloused shaking, said enough. At one point they ducked into a butcher's alley and crouched beneath a rusted meat hook. He checked his watch, 12 minutes since they'd left. If they reached the yards by 20 past, a contact might slip her onto a supply train heading north. "Why are you helping me?" she asked, sudden and small in the dark. He hesitated. The easy lie was there, because it's the right thing to do. The truth was messier. "Because I knew a girl, not so different from you. She trusted me once. I didn't help her." "What happened?" "She died," he said, dragging the words through tar. Silence again, but not a cold one. They crouched in it together like co-conspirators in an invisible war. Then the sound came. Boots. Not many. 2 or 3. Enough. Harold pushed her behind him and drew the old Webley he wasn't supposed to carry off duty. The revolver felt like a relic, heavy with regret. A flashlight swept the alley. "Hold it right there." Voices he knew. Men he'd shared rations with. Training yards, lies told in confidence, backs watched over desks stacked with redacted files. And now they were here because he'd broken the rules, because he'd seen a child and refused to pretend she was a ghost to be disposed of. "I'm taking the girl," he called. His voice cracked. He let it. "She's not who you think." "You don't get to decide that, Lennox." No, he didn't. He fired once into the brick, warning, prayer, and ran. Some stubborn, foolish corner of his mind hoped they'd let him go, that they'd remember pub nights and quiet jokes and the whispered doubts about the morality of their orders. That history might count for more than the damned rules. It didn't. The chase was clumsy and violent. They tore through stalls, past barrels of spoiled potatoes, through splintered doors and shattered glass, until the station loomed ahead like a lifeboat in a brutal sea. He'd got her there. In the end, that was what mattered. She didn't want to leave him, but he shoved her through the carriage door, breathless, blood trickling from a shallow cut at his temple. "You get out, you disappear, you live." Her hands were fists. "What about you?" "I'll be fine," he lied. The train pulled away with a scream of steel. Harold Lennox stood alone in the dark, hands raised as his pursuers closed in. They didn't shoot him, not right away. Perhaps they didn't know what to do with a man who chose to be good instead of obedient. His tribunal was swift and secret. They stripped his rank. His file went deeper than any shelter. But somewhere in the north, a girl called Elsie worked in a library under a new name. She wrote letters she never sent to a man she could never repay. And in a rented room in Camden, Harold grew old, alone, but not unloved. Because in the quiet moments, when the shelling stopped and the world forgot to roar, he heard her voice again. "You shouldn't have come." And he always answered the same way. "I know, but I did."
This was The Wrong That Was Right, written by Beryl Coops. I hope you enjoyed my short story. Please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. I have written over 500 short stories over the years under many pen names. I will be updating these and recording them under the Beryl Coops name. I will be listing them on YouTube as fast as we can get them recorded. They will include historical drama, humor, adventure, romance, period drama, mystery, thriller, war stories, spy stories, revenge, horror, psychological horror, dystopian, disaster, children's stories, love stories, and more. Too many to name. Something for everyone. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a thumbs up. It helps others find my channel. Until next time, thank you for listening to the end.